Well, what's the crack, everybody? How you getting on? You're all very welcome to episode 128 of Buckshot for Friday, the 1st of November. By Jesus Christ, where's the year gone? I'm just recording this on the way back from the interview I just did. So I have the mobile device. I'm in the car. I figured, you know what? I have a couple of minutes waiting on ourselves here. So I'm just going to get this thing recorded. Because that's the way my life is now. Time management is, do you think you have time? No, you fucking don't have time. No, you don't, which is fine. So long as, you know. So there's a couple of fuckers and an old digger here beside me. So if you can hear a digger in the background, I can't apologise for it because it's nothing to do with me. But you should hear me fairly well anyway. So you're all very welcome. Thank you very much to the new Patreons, Mick and Adrian, this week. Of course, this episode will be going out a little bit early to you guys. And of course, if you do fancy contributing to the podcast, of course, slinging it a couple of dollars, it all helps. It all helps. Paid towards hosting fees, buying new gear, and fucking prioritising it over doing other shit. You know what I mean? Would you ever fuck off with that digger? Jesus Christ. They only started up as soon as I fucking parked. They've been sitting there smoking fags until now. Jesus. And thank you very much. Shane bought a heap of merch. Good on you, Shane. So there's a merch shop there for everybody else too, if you fancy fucking getting into it. So they'll all be in the show notes. T-Republic, Buckshot. If you go to T-Republic, look for Buckshot gear, you'll find all my stuff. There's a touch of Buckshot off it. Also, there's a lot of Bare Knuckle Comedy, another kind of company that I had before. So still have, actually. So there's some gear from that as well. And that's about it, really. Other than that, feel free to fucking, you know, share and rate. Rate if you don't feel like slinging it a couple of dollars to help the old podcast out, you know. But you do get the back catalogue to the Tom and Jerry show if you do become a Patreon. So, you know, I'm just saying. Gigs tonight, as you will hear this, if you are listening on November 1st, or you're hungover to fuck and you've left it till Sunday or whatever. But tonight, I cannot wait. I'm heading to Galway. This motherfucker sold well. So I'm heading to Galway to the town hall. Gordon Rochford of Those Conspiracy Guys is coming with me for a bit of a road trip. Haven't brought anybody on a road trip yet, so it should be good old fucking craic. Hopefully the traffic isn't absolutely putrid driving into fucking Galway. But, yeah, next week I will be in the Opera House in Wexford. So keep tuned for that. Tom O'Mahony /gigs for any of the shit I've got coming up. I'm going to be updating that because there's a bunch of stand-up actually coming up as well. So I'm going to be updating that. Right. Getting all that shit out of the way. My guest today, nobody can get this guy. Nobody can get him because he's not on any social medias. He's not on fucking nothing because he don't give no fucks. And nobody, they can do the odd interview with him and all the rest of it, but nobody can fucking get him. And thankfully, we've been friends for a long, long time. So it's Denis Leamy, in case you hadn't read the actual description. Denis Leamy, you know, he's got cult status really, like, because, you know, he's the Rock of Cashel. He's just smashing by his whole career. Played 10 years with Munster, 2 Heineken Cups, bunches of other fucking, I don't know how many Celtic Leagues he won, or pro whatever they were at the time. He's also won 57 caps, I think, for Ireland, over 100, nearly 150 for Munster. So quite a bit. Scored a lot of tries, smashed a lot of people. A hell of a sound fella. Biggest pause I've ever come across, although we do discuss his hands during it and how even he was emasculated by Devon Toner's pause. So we recorded in the Eagle House in bar upstairs in Vaughan's Eagle House bar in Terran York, because it was just handy for him because he's now working as elite development officer for Leinster Rugby, which I gave him no shit about whatsoever. Even though, you know, I said nothing. You know, we left the big elephant in the room. We said nothing about it really too much. So, because no doubt he got enough shit from everybody else. So there is a bit of background noise, but in fairness, with the mics, we're very clear. And again, thanking the Patreons for that, because you bought the mics. So we're very, very clear. So there's a bit of ambiance in the background, but it doesn't really get in the way. So, do you know what? Sit back, relax, and enjoy the piss taking and the good crack I had with Denis Leamy. Denis, what's the crack? How are you getting on?
Tom, you well?
We're fish out of water, aren't we, inside in South Dublin right now?
We are very much out of our out of our geography or geograph, is it?
Yeah, geograph.
Geograph, that's
Although
the word.
probably not. There's as many cultures in Dublin as there is anything else, isn't there?
Yeah, a good few tip fellas around the place and a few old
Do you
tip
know what?
pubs.
I don't know what it is. We're like the Jewish or something in New York. Stick together. We have our own societies and everything. Did you know there's a Tipperary-man society? Tipperary bar owner society. That many pubs are owned by tip fellas in Dublin.
I didn't know that. No,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Only I was at a gig in Chaplin's bar in town, and there was a poster on the wall for it. And I went out and asked your man, and I'd never spoken to him. He always had a big grumpy head any time I went in there. And I was, what's the story with the poster? And all of a sudden his accent made it very clear where he was from. Like, I said, you from Tip? I said, yeah. All of a sudden he was the happiest fella in the world. Like.
Brilliant.
But I swear, he goes, oh yeah, that was the thing. Like back in the 60s, like if you didn't get the farm, fuck up to Dublin and get yourself a pub.
Yeah.
Or go working in a pub, and you'll eventually own one. Like your man that owns the Halfpenny Inn, he's from. Is he from? Where's he? Burris? No, 2 Mile Burris.
Yes, 2 Mile Burris. Yeah.
But
yeah.
his thing was he couldn't understand when he started taking lads on why they'd want a day off in a month, because his first 6 years in Dublin he didn't take one single day off, not one. Even Christmas Day he was in cleaning the pub.
We work Sundays and everything in Tip, don't we?
Just
Yeah.
fucking monsters.
Yeah,
monsters.
yeah.
Like.
Gluttons for it.
But
no, there's a lot of tip pubs, and then Francis Gleeson. Well, he's from Clonalty, but he'd be associated with Cashel. He's a lot of pubs up here. He had Whelan's at one stage.
Yeah. And sure, isn't your man, what's his name? Louis Fitzgerald, doesn't he tip as well?
Yeah,
and
he
he's
is,
over
yeah.
50 pubs.
Yeah, jeez, oh my God.
Fucking hell. Did you ever consider owning a pub?
Yeah, I did actually a couple of times when a few people approached me while I was still playing and about getting involved in pubs, and there was one guy from Tip Town approached me, and I went down, had a look around, and hadn't a clue what all the jargon was, and showed me the books and everything like that, but it never really happened. Then there was another opportunity in Cork, same sort of scenario, and there was a couple of opportunities in Cashel at different stages, but really the bottom line was I didn't know anything about pub trade, and I was fully sure that I was going to get burned. So happily enough, I kept jogging.
I would have been stupid enough there and go, absolutely, yeah.
Like it's very hard. It's hard not to get carried away and seeing it. You know that it's rocking and rolling, and packed every night.
Oh
and, the best of bands and all the rest, the glitz and glamour that goes with it. But in reality, I think a lot of the country pubs are all but empty on a Saturday night. You know what I mean?
That's
the sad reality. Yeah,
and that's like in the height of your Munster career, the boom was flying it. So everything seemed to be flying it. Like if somebody said to you, Denis, we're going investing in ski holidays, it would have made perfect sense.
Massive. Like and look, that's something that was very, very real for the rugby players around that time. The amount of guys coming with opportunities and easy money to be made. Put your money in car parks here, or put your, get into housing developments or pubs.
I remember you telling me about that.
And it was bananas. Like, and sure, nearly all of us got burnt in some way or other.
Of course, and it didn't exclude me, I can tell you.
Yeah, so look, that's the way it goes. And you put it down to, a bit of an education and move on.
Because I was talking with Quinny one day, and he was saying, he was asking about my old lad in the meat factory or something in Care, and I was like, what? He goes, because I have a slaughterhouse out in Argentina, I went, that makes, those words coming out of your face right now make no sense. He goes, himself and fucking Pucciarello.
Yeah, there's a few of us involved in a biofuel gig out there. So he basically grows crops and refines it down to...
Well, like rapeseed or something?
Yeah, exactly, and refines it down to biodiesel. And... that's, look, in fairness to Federico Pucciarello, he's one of the good guys. He kept the show on the road, and, we're actually making a few quid out of it. He might have a holiday out of it every year.
The avenues you'd find up that you'd never consider. Like.
It's bizarre, yeah. Look, that's the reality of it. I mean, I suppose, what the guys that are playing, for Ireland at the moment, their careers are short, and you're looking to see if you can keep that income stream coming in. A lot of rugby players are not prepared for what we call the afterlife, and it's a real scary, like, it's kind of an in-house joke, the afterhouse or the afterlife. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? And a lot of fellas, it's just really scary prospect for them, because all we know is rugby. Like, myself, for example, like I was playing for Ireland by the time I was 16 in underage teams, I knew nothing else. Like I neglected my schoolwork, I neglected, my education big time. And, a lot of guys of my generation would have done that. So you were always looking to see, and develop maybe an opportunity here and then or there. And I think as a result, a lot of us chased fool's gold. But I must say, these days now, and I'm working with younger players in Leinster at the moment, they're much better informed and are much better educated in terms of what they're going to do afterwards. Yeah, all these guys are being helped hugely by the Irish Players Association, and just given really good information about getting educated, how you do that, the process of getting it done, what suits your kind of personality and all these things. That wasn't there when I was there, but thankfully it's moved on, greatly, And
I was talking with, Andy Dunn?
Yes, I know Andy.
Andy, he fixed my busted elbow.
Yes.
And but he was saying he was 28, 29 before he found out that's what because he had no clue what he was going to do.
Yeah, it's really difficult because obviously you're a young guy and you come out of school and you go straight into an Irish academy or Munster academy, whatever it may be, Leinster academy, and you're trying to you have a window of opportunity that's at most probably going to be 15 years. Now Rory Best stretched it out a little bit longer,
he dragged
the arse out of it. It was a joke, to be honest. But I don't know, but it's a narrow window of opportunity, and you want to pour all yourself into it.
And nobody wants to go really working either, back to the real world, what I mean. Or if you've ever been in the real world, do you know? Because as you were saying, you started playing for Ireland at 16, so injury free, your destination was set. You weren't going to have to be having rows with fellas over cleaning your chimney on a Tuesday morning. Do you know what I mean? These normal, what do they call it, adulting. You don't have to do that because you got to be a rugby player. That's all you're
very lucky for that period of your life. That you're away from that, and you're testing yourself in a really, really tough environment. You're also living a life that you've chosen, and not many people get the opportunities. And along the way, you would have seen lads who wanted to play for Ireland, drop off, So you're living the dream, and you're travelling the world, and it's difficult. It's not easy, but it's a unbelievable lifestyle and an unbelievable opportunity in life. And
did you realise that at the time how class this is? Or because Paul O'Connell, I remember him in an interview saying he didn't enjoy it enough in the middle of it. Like, is it hard? Was it hard?
I think I know where Paul is coming from there. At the start, it's just unbelievable, and I suppose it was at that time where we were getting better and better, and we started to win big games. We started to get close with Munster to winning a European Cup. Then we backed it up a couple of years later, and that was just a fantastic time. And then I suppose that brings its own pressures then. The pressure to do it again, to win it 3 times from a Munster point of view was huge. And I suppose it started to become an obsession, and the enjoyment probably started to peter out a little bit.
Yeah, I get you.
And we were getting older as well. Lads are getting married. There's family. There's guys having kids. You're getting older. You have to look after your body. The social life. You can't go out after a big game and get home at 3 or 4 in the morning. That sort of thing. We started to get a little bit older and more mature as well, and you start to realise that there's only going to be so many opportunities now to win another one. So I understand where Paul is coming from there. The enjoyment does peter out a little bit. Yeah. And that's probably, if I had my way again, and I'm sure he'd say the same, as would a lot of my teammates, maybe we should have just relaxed a little bit more. Yeah. But it's difficult when you're in it.
I suppose too, because you don't know if the coaching staff watching you either. Because it depends on you look at somebody like Saracens. The guys are off in the rip the whole time, but it seems they found a balance.
Yeah.
Whereas Mark McCall is going, no, you're grand, go to Vegas, but you'll be training Monday morning and I'll run the arse off you.
That's a brilliant balance to have, and look, I mean, whatever they're doing is working really, really well, because they seem to be the team that everyone wants to beat. They're the bar. So whatever they're doing, if they're going to Vegas and living it up for the weekend and coming back and winning the following Saturday, happy days. What
was it like then? Like, so you say, you know what I mean, you were all planning on biofuels and pubs were kind of nearly coming your way and everything, but when then, because you were cut short, even though you did get a 10-year career, like you were cut short. Had you something in was it always going to go back to farming, like, or Was it like what kind of a jolt to the system was it? When you're like, well, fuck me, right? I better go back farming.
It was a big jolt because injuries had become part of my career probably in the latter stages of my career. But I had an ongoing hip injury that had been giving me a little bit of trouble. But I was kind of assured that I would carry on and I'd see my career out. And the intention was probably to go back and to college and study. I'm not really sure even at that stage. But farming would have been part of it. The intention was always to farm, and I suppose that was the fallback. Being from a farming background, it's just in the blood. Like the land is in you, and I just love getting up and getting out. But at the same time, I love what I do now, working with the Leinster Academy is hugely fulfilling as well. So it's lovely to have both avenues. But just going back to the original question, I suppose I was cut short, and my retirement probably came 5 years too early for me. I wasn't prepared, so just basically packed up the bags. Living in the house that you built me below in Cork, and moved home, and I just picked up the pieces and went day to day. So I started farming, and the opportunity came to coach young Munsters in Rockwell that season, and I just got stuck in. And look, I didn't know I was going to go down the coaching line, really.
Oh, didn't you?
I was unsure. Yeah, I was unsure.
Because it's become so dedicated that, like, you're with one of the top clubs in the world right now. So people, it's been quite a fast trajectory. I know you'll say that. Well, Tom, it's been fucking a good few years, but
it has. And I suppose I've done it kind of a little bit differently to some professional players. Some guys go in at the top end. You see, high profile players
like Felix
went in top. Yeah, Fla went in. Paul went in top end. Raj went in top end as well. And I kind of did it a little bit differently. And I suppose I was anxious to go back to grassroots and to probably learn my trade much like you would as a player. Start at the start and work your way up. And it's been a very interesting, progression along the way. Just working with underage kids, working with amateur players who could turn up. Some of them, turn up. They could have a pint or two on them. The lead sparks up in the dressing room at half time, and you're looking across, going, "Oh my God, what would Declan Kidney say?"
Yeah.
But
smoke Silkcut Light at least.
Yeah. Come on, lads. Come on. Jesus, get vaping or something. Like, Jesus. But so you just meet really interesting characters, and I was, looking back, really, really happy I did that, and it's given me a new perspective because I would have been, coming from a professional environment. We were structured, timekeeping, we were regimental. You meet guys like that who have, a job and they've got other interests and more important things than rugby, just to see their mindset and stuff like that. So, very happy I did that. And look, I progressed along, and I worked with Munster underage teams and academy along the way. And Munster were very, very good to me in terms of my development as a coach. And I suppose that's brought me to the point of where I am today, working with Leinster, the Leinster Academy as an elite player development officer. So. Yeah, it's been interesting.
I remember because we're about not far off the same age, and I remember years ago.
You're older than me, though.
Yeah, that's right, Dennis. Thanks very much. Yeah.
Just thought I'd remind you.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah, thanks very much. But there was a talk of an amalgamation, of some weird amalgamation that was going to happen for this weird under-17s league in Tipperary at the time, and I remember they were talking about Clanwilliam joining with Cashel.
Yeah,
because of course we would never join with Kilfeacle. That was never going to fucking happen.
Yeah, and that's probably not going. Although it has happened, Cashel and Kilfeacle have joined at underage, which I believe. Yeah, but the rivalries are strong.
But what was the killer was at the time I was inside centre. Nobody was touching me. I was flying it, full of creatine. It was great. And then, then all of a sudden this was mentioned. I went, hold on one fucking second. Doesn't Denis Leamy every so often want to pop out to the centre? And they're like, oh, he does, yeah. Will you want to pop out to the centre? Because he probably will. I went, well, fuck Leamy anyway.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, terrible idea. Cancel that. Let's join Kilfeacle instead. Galway. Let's join Galway.
Jesus, brilliant.
Thankfully, it didn't happen. I came on for the second half in a match. I was playing under 20s for Shannon, and you were playing for UCC at the time.
I remember the game in the Mardyke.
It was the Mardyke.
20s All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah, ye bet us.
Yeah.
I remember at that stage it was... You could see the lads... No, some lads, as you talked about, lads that could have gone on further, but one thing or another, like... I remember Ger Staunton. He was like a freak show. He was on the wing.
Yes.
He was breaking lads' collarbones, just running at him, but never... Looking at him, if he was...
Tony Buckley played that day.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. He was like your man, the Mountain out of Game of Thrones.
He was something else.
Oh my God, yeah.
But the thing is, you could see the two of you. You were going, all right. Well, Tony could smoke 20 Benson at half time, but he'd tip away because he's in the front row.
And swallow 24 cans.
Yeah.
The back of the bus.
I remember coming down to my house one day and eating everything in the fridge. I mean, everything. He drank all the milk and everything. The man was just bovine.
Yeah.
But you could see that day it was like, right, who's definitely going to be professional? And it was you and Buckley for sure. And by default, Buckley, because he was built like a bovine. Like he was, he was agriculturally
built. Huge
built.
man. Yeah, I think, look, the same day, Frank Murphy played for UCC.
That's right, yeah.
Stephen Keogh. I'm pretty sure there was a couple of guys on the Shannon side as well.
Cully Tucker,
excellent. Only for he's a guy that he actually works with Connacht now, but he's a guy that got badly hurt in an Irish Academy fitness drill one day, and look, he was destined for huge things. I think I when I meet Jerry Flannery, I always say to him, listen, you'd never been heard of only for Cully Tucker got injured. And he hates it. But that's the way it's at. Like, Colm Tucker was a great player. Unfortunately got hurt, and that was it. He's a career that could have lasted for a decade plus taken away. And I suppose that's something you gotta, when you're stuck in it, you appreciate the lads that you lose along the way and the opportunity you have, so you just try and do your best,
Yeah, because I remember I ran into, I hadn't seen him in years, our scrum half at the time was Fiach O'Loughlin.
Fiach, yeah.
And I mean, sure, again, he'd represented at every level, and like that. I met him when he was having pints, watching an Ireland match. I was actually.
He's a CDO with Munster now, isn't he? Yeah.
He is, I think, yeah. I was in Flannery's pub, I was hosting a thing for Heineken, one of these yokes that we did one night. We did it in Mount Over.
We did it in Mount Over Village in Cork.
Yeah. Miko was there as well.
What I remember that evening was the whole bar was packed to capacity. Not one person was listening to anything we had to say.
No, not a thing.
Now, in fairness, Miko's fair born.
Yeah. He's a nice lad. But Jesus, you know what I mean. There's
He'd bore you to tears.
To be fair, I mean the amount of drugs I had to take just to get through that. And do you know what? That was the thing I quickly found. There's nothing sacred amongst rugby players when it comes to slagging.
No.
You're good. And I knew by the time I'd 4 or 5 of these things done, that if I'd ran into a few of the lads a good few times, and next thing the piss was being properly taken out of me too. I was like, I'm one of the lads now. This is great, because you knew there was nothing off the books.
And it's in Munster especially the slagging was vicious.
I heard that. Yeah,
it was vicious. Like the saying was, leave your feelings at the door, because if you were the sensitive type, you wouldn't survive. It's just.
Is it true?
It was shocking.
Is it true that when Dougie Howlett came to Munster, because he'd had that previous incident as an All Black where he went bananas one night,
jumping on cars
and stuff. Was there something
full of wicked?
Was there fucking West Kerry diesel? Was there something made of that when you landed on? Like somebody cycled in going, I left the fucking car at home, you mad bastard.
No, he turned up, but he was being introduced to. We were on the pitch, and someone, Decky, came in and introduced him. Everyone knew who he was. He was a superstar. This is Dougie. And someone, I can't remember, it was probably Quinny or someone like that. Lads, watch the cars. Watch the cars.
Can you imagine what he felt like for a second? Just going,
I know, just into this. What a bunch of lunatics. But I know he fitted in well. Yeah.
And then you went out of left field, nearly Brezzy showing up on the side of the Westmeath team. All of a sudden, Denis Leamy is now part of the coaching staff of Tipperary hurling. That must have been the dream come true.
Yeah,
because being a fan, you know what I mean.
It was great. I had a missed call from a number I didn't recognise, and I left a message, and it was Michael Ryan. He said, "Look, Dennis, I want to have a chat with you in the Horse and Jockey." So I thought he was chasing up a bad debt or something. He works for the bank, But,
oh, Christ!
I said, "Oh no, here we go now. What does he want?"
Jesus.
But anyway, I met him anyway. Thankfully, it wasn't that. So he just sat down. He said, "Look, we'd be interested in bringing you in as a kind of performance consultant. What would you think of that? Would you be interested? And I was very poker face. Yeah. Look, I'll think about it. Give me a couple of days. But I knew that it was something that I'd really be interested in coming in, just being around the players and just seeing something different. But also being part of the Tipperary backroom team is huge, And it was fantastic. Yeah, it was two brilliant years. Was involved in the 2016 All Ireland win, and that was brilliant. That was a great buzz.
Importantly, did you get a medal?
I did, I think, yeah. I'm not sure where it is.
You got a medal.
I actually don't know where it is. I think I haven't received it yet, but I'm supposed to. Yeah.
Are you supposed? I just imagine, do you remember when you were young and you get a medal, but like a county player would come out to the club?
Yes.
You'd all queue up and get your medal, like, and get a shake his hands.
Shake the hands.
Is that what happens? Like now you didn't show up to the night.
It's pretty. I think it's something like that. It's pretty much like that. Yeah, but a bigger gig.
Thanks very much, Mr.
I couldn't make it to rugby commitments, but the medal is somewhere. I must follow that up, actually.
But Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How many chances will you ever get the opportunity, like?
Well, very good point.
Do you know what? You're too big for your own boots now. You have 2 European medals. And Jesus Christ, I remember the day. I have to thank you for it. You got me a lot of tickets. Now, I did got you some extra land on your house that time.
Yeah, and you built me a fabulous wall, which is still standing, surprisingly enough. 10
I
years later.
I wasn't banking on it staying standing.
Neither was I.
How long till I leave this job will that thing stay standing, like?
In fairness to you, boy, you're some builder. Some builder.
Some fucking bluffer.
I just remember the fella you brought along with the shovel, and he spent half a day shoveling out the fucking...
That's savage.
Out the foundation.
Yeah.
He was some man with a shovel, in fairness.
We called him 3-ton.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was. He was a 3-ton digger, like. You didn't have to oil him, nothing. Just give him throw enough cans at that man, enough cider at him.
Yeah.
Just throw cider and petrol
for the tank.
Mark, I haven't actually thought of that man in 10 years.
Well, if he's out there, I just want to say...
No, I'd say he's well dead at this stage now. Yeah, there's no way. The way he was going, Dennis.
No, in fairness.
He lived hard.
He's gone down the wrong road, isn't he?
He
was some man on a shovel.
And that is some technique. Like, it is a thing, like, you think... When strength-wise, like, you'd have, you know what I mean. You were a pro rugby player at the time, like, and you're doing all this conditioning. But if you put a pickaxe or shovel in your hand, you'd be busted after a day because
I wouldn't be able.
You're just not conditioned. Yet he had a big belly, arse hanging out, smoking fags, but he'd work a 10-hour day on a shovel. Like.
Hands like concrete.
Yeah,
I get a blister now if I pick up a fork.
Oh, you poor man.
Yeah, soft hands.
I remember reading, it was Lord of Mercy on Axel, but I remember there was, you get at the appendix at the back of books.
Yes.
Do you know about this, don't you?
Go on.
He had a quote for
refresh
he had a quote for everybody.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember, like, Paul O'Connell, psycho, different people. And it just came to Denis Leamy, biggest hands in the entire world. No question. Now, I don't know how much investigating he'd done on hands of the world, but he reckoned you had the biggest hands in the world.
Yeah, up to that, I probably was right up there. And then Devon Toner came along, I shook his hand the other day, and it just like... It just engulfed my little paw, yeah.
Good.
It was an awful thing.
I actually,
it was pure...
Oh. Well, emasculated immediately.
It was terrible.
Fair, Dennis, most country women's hands emasculate mine these days. I've gone so soft. My hands have actually shrunk from any manual labour. Do you know what? As you say that, he was in the International Comedy Club, I remember, a couple of months ago. And he kind of gave me a wink like that as I was walking on to let me off, will you? I'm kind of injured. I'm supposed to be injured, and please don't. I'm 6 foot a million. And this is a tiny comedy club, and I don't know. And nobody in there knew who he was, because everybody in there, you knew by him. Rugby wasn't that paramount.
But you very much take notice of him, because he's such a tall man.
He'd made a good job of actually tucking himself down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of like how a praying mantis kind of goes down into... He was down, but he was holding a pint of Guinness, and I swear to God, it looked out of perspective with the world. I didn't know, was he really far away?
But that was a baby Guinness.
It looked like a baby Guinness, but it was actually a full-size pint hidden inside. He was able to hide it inside his hand.
Yeah, massive paws.
Mushy was the same. Tony Buckley.
Yeah,
his nickname was Mars Bar Fingers, because quite literally, we did it one day on the bus going to a match. One of the lads laid 5 Mars bars across his hand, and he could hide them behind his fingers. It was hideous. Yeah, it was hideous. It was just...
Yeah, but a good old advantage when you're a rugby player.
Yeah, I suppose if you can get over 2 miles an hour, like, you know what I mean? But, yeah, he was an interesting character. I don't think Mushy liked rugby. He wasn't... he just enjoyed hanging out with lads and pints. But first opportunity to quit, he was like, yeah, no, I'm going back plumbing.
Tony. He was a very good rugby player, and he was very talented, very skillful for such a big man. But he had his own way of doing things, and like I suppose when we back in Munster in the day, you nearly had to be a certain type of personality that was sort of what would you say, aggressive and on the edge, and
Did anybody get
borderline?
Any foreigners come in just get devoured?
Yeah, loads. I think to be fair, loads of foreigners came in and struggled with the environment and the pressure. Like there would have been a lot of pressure, and the standards would have been very, very high. And the in-house joke would
very
be,
little sympathy, I'd imagine, for anybody.
That was it.
Yeah.
The in-house joke used to be like a really good foreigner would be signed, and the in-house joke was, "How long will it take us before we make him shit?" Yeah. So, and that happened a lot.
Case in point, Christian Cullen.
No names.
Come on, Christian.
No, Cully was brilliant.
Well, he was at the end of his tether anyway.
But,
by the time
there was a bit of that. But Tony was a little bit different, and he was relaxed, and he wasn't. He wasn't to the forefront. He wasn't. He wasn't the guy who was going to talk it up.
Yeah.
And went about his business in a quiet way, and. The more I've kind of learned about it as I've gone on, there's different ways of being. You don't have to be all
savage all
the time. There's room in the dressing room for loads of different personalities, and everyone has their little place.
It's kind of a healthier way
in
to
the
be
team
too,
dynamic.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Because you had a rep at the beginning, like early on, because you'd gotten a couple of early sightings, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Like, where was that? Was that just a will to just smash, or was it an actual temper thing, or was it kind of in a Munster environment? You better be on the edge all the time, like. Do you know? Because you pick out any of the forwards from back then, and everybody had kind of a raspy edge to them. Bar Wally seemed like a mannerly man.
Yeah.
But everybody else seemed like they were, they could be.
I think I was. Yeah, I certainly played. Certainly in my younger days, I played on the edge and probably over it a lot of the time, and I was still probably learning where the line was. You know what I mean? Because physicality would have been a huge part of my game, and that kind of made me the player I was at the time. And it's changed a little bit, but at the time, back rows tended to be 6'3" or 4", and probably 18 stone. At that time, I was 6'1.5" and 16.
Make sure and get the half
stone.
in. Anyway.
Yeah, very. You
Christ,
know yourself.
I had it written down
massive.
in case you didn't say it.
That's massive, man. You know yourself. But I suppose my point was that, and the game has changed now. You look at the English back rows, Curry and
yeah.
Geez, his name escapes me. The brilliant number 7. The game has changed a little bit. Wales play two smaller flankers, Australia are playing two smaller flankers in the back row as well. And, I always felt that for me to make up that kind of divide in a coach's mind, probably needed to live on the edge and be really aggressive, really, really explosive and try to be as powerful as could be. And look, by and large it worked. But it was a fine line early doors trying to figure out where the line was.
Yeah.
I crossed the line, more than once. Let's just say.
How many sightings did you get, Dennis?
I was cited twice, convicted twice, and I was sent off as a schoolboy. This was all. This was before this, and all of them. All of those incidents probably happened within a 2-year period, and I was still I was still under 20 at that stage, so I was probably, I was still young, I was still quite young.
Cases,
but I suppose what I'd like to, where I'm trying to get to with this is, as I moved on, I suppose I never got a red card after that, or I was never cited after that again. And while I did play on the edge, and I always tried to, I think I had a better grasp of how to control it and channel my energies in the right direction.
Yeah, because I'd imagine, especially when the game's like hanging in the balance, and it is rugby, like it's not like it's, lawn tennis, like you're up, the old blood is rushing anyway. Like, I mean, there's a few points there, like do you remember when you went back, like to keep your head, was it 2008? It was 2008. Remember the try was disallowed?
Yes.
And you went back up and just said, fuck it, I'll score it again.
Yeah,
but you looked so relaxed. You're like, grand, I'll go again. Like, anybody else, and I was in the crowd, anybody else would have been ready to chew their hands off.
And I think that came with experience. That probably came with the group of players I was with as well.
Right,
that was, I think you mentioned that final in 2008. I think there was a sense among our group that we weren't going to lose. There wasn't many games I've ever played where you go in, or a big game like that, a big final, and you kind of think, I don't see us losing here. And that was kind of a bit different for us.
It's an All Blacks attitude, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
You know, it was. And I look back that day, I honestly couldn't see us being beaten by Toulouse. And I actually came across an old newspaper article leading up to the game, and they were tipping Toulouse, and they had all the profiles, and most of their players against our players we were basically saying that Toulouse had, you know, the better players on their side, the majority of the better players. I remember thinking, that's not how we saw it at all. We were brainwashed into thinking we're going to turn up and win here. There's no doubt.
And was that because of the run you'd had, or was it Decky, or what was it like?
I think we had reached that stage where we were very, very confident with each other. We trusted each other in the dressing room. You looked around the dressing room, and everywhere you looked, you had players who were experienced, who'd gone to war for Munster for years. You know, they had Irish caps, probably 50, 60, 70 Irish caps at that stage. A lot of guys, and just kind of thinking, there's no dressing room in European club rugby I'd rather be in, you know, and it was a brilliant place to be, you know.
Because I mean, it was the envy of Europe. I remember going out at the 2006 semi-final here in Dublin. I remember we were talking after that, and it was like a sea of red when you came out, like.
Yes.
But I remember chatting with a couple of nice Leinster lads afterwards up the road, and they were going, we could only dream of having. Now, the story since is that a lot of people didn't wear blue, and they just wore their normal clothes. They're like, yeah, but you must have been wearing fucking red too, because you happen to blend in with a lot of the red that was in the audience that day, like, you know. But there was, from the offset, there was no sense that Munster were going to lose, like, that day either. Like.
Yeah, I think that was probably a little bit different. I think genuinely we came to Dublin that day with a bit more fear than maybe we would have approached the final in 2008. I think there was a genuine fear that day with the Leinster backline. They had destroyed Toulouse in Toulouse.
Who was in it that day? There was Keith Gleeson was 7, wasn't he?
Keith was 7, yeah. Like you had a brilliant backline. You had like Guy Easterby at 9. You had Felipe Contepomi, Darcy Dricko.
I just noticed there was a flicker across your eyes when you said his name.
I work with Felipe now. He sits beside me in the office. We're good old buddies.
You had a tasty scrap that day, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Am I right? Did Keith Gleeson get a sneaky one in on you during that scrap?
Yeah,
because you the black eye after that, and I think Keith Gleeson, because we were down near that, and I'm pretty sure he came in and
I think he missed me, to be fair. Now I don't remember it like that. No, he probably did. Now it was 2-on-1 at the time, but I was trying my best, put the head down. But like Leinster were full of talent. Gervin Dempsey, Denis Hickey, unbelievable Irish internationals at that time. So we came to Dublin. I think there was definitely a fear factor that day that, look, if we didn't really do well up front, that the Leinster backs had the ability to cut us to shreds. And you know, even if you look at that game back now, the scoreline suggests we won it easy.
Yeah.
But for 50, 60 minutes of that game, we were on tender hooks. Like, I mean, we were one line break away from being busted, you know, and one missed tackle. And that Leinster team was, you could see, full of talented individuals. And, you know, it was no surprise that, you know, a few years later that Leinster would go on and win a European Cup, and more since then, you know.
Do you, like, in playing in the likes of that, where you do end up in a scrap and all the rest when you were talking about like playing with savages, who do you reckon you came across that was a surprise of how much of a savage they were, hard bastard wise, like? Because there's always, you pop up, and it would seem, in a lot of conversations where just weren't expecting, because you weren't shouting and roaring, but the next thing you try and get a handle on Leamy, and all of a sudden this farmer strength comes in out of nowhere, like, it's just...
Yeah, like, it's interesting. The Kiwis would not be as physically big as the South Africans, but I found them very, very, very tough, very strong. You mentioned farmer strength, like McCaw, like someone like McCaw was, you know, you hit him and you're just like, whoa.
Really?
What the hell was that? Yeah, like, he was just teeth tough, you know. Anthony Foley was another guy. You hit Axel and you're like, what did I just hit there? That's, you're like...
Because he didn't physically look it.
No, he didn't. But it's just like John Hayes. Like, Hayes looked it now, but Hayes was made out of, I don't know, some sort of granite or something. Like, He was deadly. Like when he was holding a pad in training, there'd be lads running away from him. No one wanted to.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Oh, horrible. They like Hayes and Foley, and I mentioned McCall. These sort of guys, just I don't know what sort of bone structure they had, but it was granite.
Because Andy Dunn reckoned that them fellas do have a different bone structure.
Makeup, yeah.
He says there's something different. He says
density, yeah.
Yeah, he says like, and sometimes it does take that natural farmer thing. Like he was comparing, let's say Tyke Furlong to Porter. His Porter looks the part, like he's been put through a gym, like, and he's come out the other. Which is where Tyke, he says, is that big fat arse. Do you know, there's actually genetics there.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's bovine genetics where you just wouldn't.
He's the real deal. Like
Yeah. Isn't it a bit like when we were only discussing it recently, myself and another fella, we were going, even amongst the Leinster ranks, there's the amount of people from farming backgrounds that end up in pro rugby in Ireland.
Yeah, it's a natural progression, really, from the point of view, if you know what I mean.
Pulling the heads off cows.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of brought up wrestling calves, and you know what I mean.
Well, you're doing man
just
work
daily
from an early
chores,
age.
and when I was growing up, we had sheep at one stage, like for about 3 or 4 years, and all I remember is nearly every Saturday, rounding up the sheep and bringing them in, and between running after them, trying to stop fellas breaking rank and trying to keep them in, brilliant for your footwork and stuff like that. And then you're going in and you're catching them. You might be shearing them.
That's what the New Zealanders have.
I spent the summer catching sheep for a fella, and it was unbelievable in terms of just getting in and mullicking. Really tough work, really tough work. But like that sort of wrestling and grappling, that doesn't come naturally to everyone, what I mean?
No, yeah.
We actually coach that now in rugby, grappling and wrestling. You see the conditioners warming up before games, doing all that sort of stuff.
Could we be developing something here, Dennis, over this conversation, where maybe you consider taking the Leinster lads down into Wicklow, maybe to a sheep farm somewhere, and just...
Hey, come here, we try anything, you know what I mean? And we'll certainly be looking at all.
I can get my hands on about 30, 40 sheep, we just paint them blue and just put bibs on them.
Yeah, I'll come back to you on that one. I'm not sure how that'll go.
Story hits 70 sheep signed to the Leinster Academy, like. But you're right, though. I can actually, because I worked in pig farm for years, and I was just next level in humanity, like, you know what I mean? You're working with just the savages you are working with too. Like a lot of ex-cons, I noticed, seem to work in it. But it seemed like a good environment to put a 14-year-old. I don't know why.
Very safe, yeah.
Yeah, very safe environment. Well, I mean, they were the least
Great
dangerous.
examples.
They were the least dangerous thing on the place. Like all they teach you to do is how to smoke fags. You know what I mean? That's about how dangerous they get. But it is an interesting one, that how you say, like, that you to go from farming to that. But then you do then find genetically freakish lads like Drico, hard as a coffin nail as well. Like, you can see.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
look,
like,
I'm not. Look, I suppose it's very easy to remember the guys and correlate the farming with that. But then look, I mean, there's hard men from all different types. You are a product of your environment to a sense. But that doesn't mean you can't be a double hard bastard coming out of Blackrock College. You know what I mean, or wherever. Like, I mean, Drico was genuinely tough, a warrior. You know what I mean? He had incredible warrior instincts in that, he would lead from the front, and he'd always say, I'm going to lead from the front, I'm going to be the best player on the pitch, and come follow me, sort of thing. And there's all different types of guys, and Drico was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
So we were, again, it seems like we're doing the call back to the Andy Dunn podcast, but he was talking about we were talking about John Connors, the Traveller, calling out Gordon Darcy on Twitter. Did you see that? No?
I must have missed that.
You missed that one. That was a good one. There was something put up about being slagged about where you're from, and Darcy put up, try being from a place where they say the only thing to come out of there are strawberries, and
right.
And he wrote the whole thing as it is, and of course John Connors got his back up straight away and basically wanted to fight him out the back of Tesco's.
Okay.
And Darcy's like, grand, let's dance, no bother, like. And I put it to him, he goes, what do you reckon? He goes, oh man, he'd ragdoll John Connors. Like, if you can be his size, he's about your size, Tom, and be able to play international rugby.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, that's the other side of it. Like, you know what I mean? These guys are playing against, tough, genuinely tough men from all over the world.
Yeah.
You think of the South Africans, how physically big they are and strong and raw. Like, to live in those environments and be better than those guys says it all. Like, look, you know, Darcy be, yeah.
What was the toughest breed you came across? What were the island fellas like? Because I know, obviously, the South Africans all have that kind of Dutch gene, you know what I mean? They all have the big, blonde, square face, like, but they look hard as nails, like. But then you get these Tongans, like, and all they want to do is cut the head off fellas, like.
Yeah, just you probably summed it up there, and they love a tackle, they love a high tackle,
Yeah.
and that's kind of gone out of the game a little bit now in the last couple of years. But like, if an Islander guy, one of the Samoans or Tongans or Fijian guys, but especially the Samoans, if they caught you right, they're able to transfer that power right through a hit, and it's very, very.
They all seem to have big arses,
yeah,
and that seems to be kind of where
big
their power
legs,
comes from.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, they're made to play rugby.
Yeah,
they are made to play rugby, and they're very skillful. They're quick. Probably, you know, what leaves them down a little bit is probably their mentality. In that, they do. We're talking about playing over the edge, or you know, they tend to be like that. They tend to be quite hot-headed, and they don't produce brilliant 9s or 10s at times to game
that's a
develop.
valid point.
You know. So look, I think the amount of unbelievable players that they've contributed to world rugby has been phenomenal, but probably struggle a little bit just to put it all together, you know.
I remember one of those that Heineken thing I was saying that we did down in Fla's pub. I was chatting with John Kelly. I was just chit chatting, and I says, "What's I think we got talking. He brought it up so much way about rooming with weird lads, like, and just because you could be just put with a lad you don't know, like, you know, or you know, but you're like, you don't know, no, you haven't roomed with him. And it was Killiney Castle at the time, and he says, this man beside me, Eric Miller, was sitting there. He says, and this is in front of a full pub, and Eric didn't care, because it was true. He said, I walked in day one, the man was sitting starkers on the jacks, just reading the newspaper. He says, morning. So you could have put on some togs or closed the door. He said, nah.
Yeah, that's the way it was. Yeah, you just kind of have to, you know, being in a team environment, you had to room with someone, and yeah, you kind of.
Was there anybody handy?
Everyone
like,
had
you know
their.
what I mean, or did you get lumped in with?
I always roomed with Bestie.
Oh, did you?
Large, yeah, because we were at that stage where Eddie was in charge, and Eddie didn't really mind who you roomed with. He left it up to Gervin. I think Gervin used to, and so I was in the squad maybe a year before Bestie, but I was very good friends with Bestie because I played Irish schools with him. We toured Australia for 6 or 7 weeks.
Right.
We drank our way around Australia at 17 years of age, 18 years of age. So we were very much bonded as a group, that group, and we won all the games, had a brilliant time. So we came back, we played 21s together then, and I got.
You
picked.
Kept the hair anyway.
Yeah, I kept the hair.
Yeah.
But no, he kept going a lot longer. But yeah, he brought. I was in a little while, and then Bestie was called in. So just to make him feel happy enough in his surroundings, not land him in with Eric or someone like Eric, who was going to scare the life out of him first up, because he was very shy back then. He's not so shy now, but we got rooming together, and we roomed together pretty much the whole way through.
So at no point did you feel the need to get the togs out?
Like he'd be turning on Home and Away and stuff like that. I'd be like, listen, give me that. We're off.
Put houses
We'll
on.
turn on WWF or something.
Yeah, Home's under the hammer. So just stop.
Exactly. So yeah, no, we were very comfortable with each other, and we knew where to tell each other to get off as well. So lucky enough, yeah, because it can be difficult enough if you're lumped in with someone you don't know, and you know, it gets a bit awkward. So.
Yeah,
we never had that problem.
That sheesh moment, you're like, hey, so what's up?
Yeah.
Because you had, he was a fierce shy lad, and I don't know, was he living with you for a while, Jeremy
Manning?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you were living when we were in Cork, yeah, Jeremy.
But you still gave him no end of shit, like every time he walked into the sitting room, like you were just giving him shit. Like,
really?
Yeah. Because he made tea for us one day. And you basically nearly spat it in his face. Like,
he was no good to make tea. That's why I hired him. But Jesus, he was useless to make tea. But yeah, No, he's Jeremy ended up in Dubai, I think, afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he kind of was with Munster for a few years and then moved on, and I think he ended up in Dubai. Yeah, I haven't heard from him since.
It's odd, or I suppose the opportunities, as you said, that do come up like that. You could move to Argentina if you wanted, still run the old bio plant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go out and harvest the
Yourself
rapeseed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you never know. It's a good option to have. But Jeremy, look, it does open doors and opportunities, and I suppose there's coaching gigs and connections made all over the world, and yeah, if it's a nice little fallback if you need it, I suppose. Yeah.
How did Cashel take it when you said, "Listen, I'm out"? Because I mean, you brought him up, you know what I mean, and they were doing well under you.
Yeah, no, we stayed in the same division. Yeah, I think we were, we had steadied the ship, and we finished second in the league last year. Lost a very, very tight game to Navan in the semi-final. Could have gone either way. Navan were very strong on the day, and they had a very good side.
Right.
But it was one of those games that could have gone either way. I think we were making good progress. But look, Cashel have always been unbelievably supportive of me. Right from when I began, and I think there's a genuine understanding that and this goes for players that have played in the club. If a guy wants to move on and is good enough to maybe take a step up the ladder and see how it goes, I think Cashel have always been very good at giving people their blessing and supporting them through that and wishing them well. And I still live in Cashel, and the club will always be my club, and I'll try and give back as much as I can.
I did a stand-up gig there last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year.
Okay.
And myself and John Cleary, he was in the Savage Eye and stuff. You'd recognise it. Amazing stand-up, So the two of us did a two-hander, and I said, "Look, John," I said, "I'd kind of half-host it, and I'll come on and I'll bring you on in the second half, because he'd be good, but he'd be kind of shy." And I said, "Look, these are South Tipperary people, it'd be grand, And it was a good crowd. We filled the place out. Everybody made money. It was great. But one of the most glorious things that ever could happen in a comedy club happened on this particular night. Alan O'Donnell, he got in a proper spot, staged the whole lot. We'd powerful crack, and I was able to use material that I wouldn't be able to use anywhere else. Talking about Tip FM.
South Tip humour.
What's Tip FM? And the creepy dark shit, there was some good dark shit that people were they were on board. There was no convincing them, okay, this is a comedy club and weird shit's going to be said. They were on it from the get-go, and there was no convincing people to sit in the front row either. They were all up there. It was great. And as I brought John on, John was about 5 minutes in, ripping up the room. And these three young ones came in. They were out of sync with the room. They were wearing way too much makeup to be in this room. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
They were nightclub ready.
Yes.
This was 10 o'clock in the evening in a rugby club. Do you know? And they were sitting there and they were just talking as loud as we're talking, louder than we're talking right now. Do you know what I mean? So they paid in, but for some reason they just decided we're going to sit here like three fuckos and just talk as loud as fuck, right? And one of the older lads was like, "Fuck, I don't know what to do," because kind of half know him. I don't really know him, but I don't want to give him a bollock. And I said, "Well, just tell him to fuck." I said, "I'll go over. I'll just take it down. Everybody can hear, eyes forward." Just as I was saying that, this woman stood up mid-sentence. She goes, "John, sorry." She knew him. "John, I'm going to stop you there for 1 second if you don't mind." And I don't know who was on the spotlight. She put it straight on her, right? I don't know, maybe it was O'Donnell. I don't know. And she just went with her finger up, turned to these three ones. "Would you shut the fuck up?" And all three of them, their mouths just fell open. The room went ballistic. Back to John. John did 5 minutes on this woman. We'll say her name was Teresa. Did 5 minutes on how Teresa was about to become the president of Ireland as a result of this amazing moment.
No bullshit, man.
I love
That's not tolerated where we're from, is it?
It was the room self-regulating. It was like the Munster dressing room of old. It was just the players taking responsibility for the situation. This woman, she self-regulated the room. You know what I mean? Without any need of a bouncer. The MC, nothing. She just went, "I'm going to take control of the situation. I paid my fucking tenner in. And these three bitches ain't." You know what I mean? It was just,
proper order.
All three of them up, and round of applause as they all fucked off out the door and ordered the taxi out. It was just amazing to see it. Cleary went on and did a 50-minute set afterwards, because it was just, everybody was just amped up because this woman had just smashed it out of the park. And I spoke with her afterwards because sure, it had to be done.
Yeah. That wouldn't be tolerated.
It just wasn't tolerated.
That's not on.
It was amazing. It was just.
You wouldn't
I
do
was
that
so
in
proud.
Mass. You wouldn't do that in Cashel Rugby Club.
I was just so proud of that moment. It was like, yeah, that's exactly why I brought you down here. Glorious stuff. But they're a funny, they are, because I gig everywhere, every corner of the country, and I say it, and I probably sound biased and stuff like that, but anybody I've brought to gig in around Tipperary have gone, these people are funny fuckers. Like, they're on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go to, like, I was in Dundalk the other night doing a gig. I was doing a one-man show, a one-man play. Hour and 45 minutes on stage. Now, it's a very funny play, but just an awful lot of quiet spots the whole way through it. But people were intently watching you. Because Dundalk's on that border, the crack is not 90 in these people, like.
Okay.
And then by the end, everybody standing ovation. Standing ovation, all waiting out in the foyer for me for photographs. And everyone's like, you could have... We're like, that was amazing. Said,
You were inside in the dressing room and goes, oh no, that was terrible.
Yeah, I was looking for the back door.
What?
But now they gave me a standing ovation, so it was like, what? But like that, they were going, that was amazing. I was like, well, why didn't you tell your fucking face? Do you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, a lot of, like, and I would have never been kind of conscious of this. Like, but when I've lived in Cork now and I've lived in Limerick and I'm in Dublin a lot now. But people genuinely associate Tipperary with a touch of madness. Like.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, the madness.
And I remember when I started living in Cork first, I was there. This is racism. This is these Cork fuckers. Like, this is. Well, then the Limerick lads kind of chirp in with it.
Yeah.
And then the Dublin lads, and like they can't all be wrong.
No, and I've had Waterford lads go.
You're all fucking mad
you're
down
all fucking
there.
tapped and tipped. Like,
you're all
know.
tapped.
Yeah. And when you start looking at it and breaking it down, you go, oh yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. I see what you're saying.
I take him on board.
I just thought he was normal.
It was, and it was one of the first people to say to him was Dave McSavage.
He's unreal. That lad.
And like he's some man to call people fucking mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's there's a fucking wildness about G that I can't harness. The best he could do was do Mick the Bull.
Yes.
Do you remember his character?
Yeah,
and he's
brilliant character.
He's modeled on that chap I said is from 2 Mile Boroughs, who owns the Halfpenny Inn. He's modeled, now he's, as your man says himself, he goes here, and he just does sound like him, and he won't even call me Tom. I've known the man 10 years. Well, Bencha, how are you getting on? And this is, you walk in the door of this pub in the middle of Temple Bar, and it may as well be in Borrisacane. Like,
fantastic.
Just walk in, because that man, that place bought and paid for, so he doesn't owe a penny to anybody. He doesn't give a shit. If you walk in one door and out the other because you don't like the cut of him, couldn't give a fuck.
Brilliant.
So he's just there sitting, he's always eating a sandwich or something and working. He's always flat out working, but eating something all it. I walked in there one day and he says, here, hi, I hear you'd Savage on your radio show, had you? I said, I had, yeah. Tell him I want a few pounds for that character. I says, well, I don't know. What sure didn't he made him up T-shirts with the silhouette of the bull Mick. Fucking queers written across the back of it. And of course, he gave him one, but your man Q-Tour went out and had it fucking copied. Is now selling them out of the pub. Genius, like.
That's Tipperary for you, isn't it?
So but he goes, come here. Do you know I've no problem with the gays, like? They've plenty of money. That's all he cared about was money.
I love him coming in here.
Because the whole thing about the queers, just I've no problem with the queers. They've plenty of money. They've all the pink pound. Bring it in. I don't care. I'll serve them cocktails. No bother. Do you know, it was...
Big time.
He had no shame about the fact... Anybody else would have had the hump. Do you know, over a fella sending him up? Nah, didn't care.
Is that brilliant though?
Where's my money? Tell Savage, not even McSavage, just tell Savage I want my fucking money. And it was kind of in that moment I kind of went along with Savage, like going, yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is. There's definitely a touch of madness. I was up for the All Ireland there a couple of weeks ago, and you just know the tip lads around Dublin, like.
Yeah. And they don't have to have the jersey on, like know. Yeah.
You know by the crot of a fella, like.
There's a flock of them to come to my gigs in the last couple of years because it seems, I'd be nearly their representation on a comedy stage, like. And you can tell them in the audience, because they just have this head, like they're going, I'm fucking, I'm in tune with this. Yeah. And in fairness, they tend to be, and I probably played to them a bit too much, nearly a small bit, like, you know what I mean? I'd go a bit pat short on the whole situation, like, but it's because of the fucking wildness. Like, a fella came up one night, I was done. I was coming off stage, done, good night, thanks. And a fella fucking walked up through the audience and shook my hand before I could get off the stage. Come on, Tom. 300 people in the room, Denis. And this lad felt the need to come up and shake my fucking hand. I said, you could have waited 2 minutes. I'll be off in a second. Like. Yeah. But he said, no, I'm going to thank that man now. Because I'm up for the... It
has to be done, yeah.
He was up for the weekend, you see, and he was very happy to see a Tipperary representative on a stage somewhere. Like.
Representing us abroad, yeah.
It's... and that, like you, that was something I often considered, like... Was it tough going away like? Was there a period, over a 6-week camp, we'll say, or a fucking 2-month camp, where you're going, just have enough of this? You know, like, because there must be, even though you're absolutely loving what you're doing, like, say you're gearing up for a World Cup and stuff. Like,
yeah, it was weird, like, you know what I mean? Because I suppose I started touring with Irish teams from around 16, 17, so, but the amount of stuff you miss, you know what I mean? And at that stage of my life, like,
16,
Grant's
17, 18.
nightclub in Cashel was the centre of the universe.
Yeah, of course.
So I could be off in France. I could be off in France playing against the French schoolboys or the French under-20s, but all the boys would be out in Grant's. And I'm missing this night out in Grant's. You're kind of like, I'm really, really happy I'm here in France and I really appreciate it, but a little bit of me love to be in Grant's. And that kind of, do you know what I mean? Fiver in. Off you go. Drinking bottles of Bacardi Breezer or whatever the hell it was. But do you know what I mean? It's bizarre.
That's
like,
the
when you
question.
look
I was
back.
wondering, like, you know, even though you're in a place where 99.99% of people that ever played a game of rugby will never get to.
Yeah.
But still, there's
a little bit of, yeah. And I think that's something that's probably maybe overlooked by people that are never there. The sacrifices you have to make, and you're glad to make them, don't get me wrong, you know, you're very glad to make them, but you know, you do miss a huge amount of family occasions and social occasions and birthdays and all that sort of stuff. And there is, look, no matter, I'd have to be honest and say, you know, I missed little bits of that. And there was times where, you know, you just accept it, you put the head down, you move on, you know, and that's all you could do. But you give up a lot. You do, like, I mean, you know, like that scenario, there's, you know, you just have to develop that mindset and that one-eyedness that, look, I'm going to achieve my goal. I want to play for Ireland. I want to be a professional rugby player. Nothing gets in the way. And if that means going out for an hour and drinking water and driving home, and doing that, you know, nearly every night of the year, so be it. Like, you know, and you just, you know, you probably have to sacrifice relationships and stuff like that. And unfortunately, you know, some don't work out and some do, but that's just the way it is.
Because I was talking, I Will Fleury a couple of times on the podcast, like, and Will is at an intensity level, like, he's at 12 on the 10 level, like, you know, but he is totally okay to sacrifice all that. Yeah. Do you know? Yeah. I was like, do you not? And he was like, nah, man, I'm just a raw motherfucker. I just want to smash people. And to be able to do that, I need to be cleaner and clean. Like, oh, right, okay, you know.
No, I totally get that. But I suppose, you know, as a young person, you know.
Yeah, 20.
Tough. You miss, like, I missed both my debs, for example.
Did you?
Yeah. Like,
that's the saddest thing I've ever heard on a podcast.
Well, you know, no, it's not actually, but it's not sad at all. It's happy enough.
Where was the Debs?
Actually, I missed. I was at one Debs, but they were in Cork. Yeah, so. But at the other side of it, like, you know, you're in Australia, so you can't. There is a kind of a moment when you're in Australia going, I wonder what the lads are doing now at the Debs. Like, I wonder how that's going on.
Good thing there wasn't like Snapchat or shit around back then, because there would have been, your head would have been done in. Like.
Yeah, exactly. But no, look, I mean, don't get me wrong, but look, there is, but look, you get over that very quickly, and obviously the rewards are huge off the back of discipline and training hard and performing well, which you need to do all of those sort of things to perform well, and, you know, like, you wouldn't regret any of it, really, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, and I suppose what I was getting at too, like the World Cup environment, like, it must be fucking intense. You know,
it's very intense, yeah, like, just... The Leinster senior players, the Irish players, arrived back in this week now.
Do they?
You know, they came back in, and it's just interesting to see them shaking hands with them. And, you know, look, I was there on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
You know, you come back in and you know, you set yourself up to do really well. You've done everything right. You try, and, you know, you probably don't reach the goals you were hoping to reach. You know, I know this Irish team really wanted to play in a semi-final. That didn't happen, unfortunately, again. And, you know, there's dealing with that disappointment. But, you know, the lead up to a World Cup, it's the toughest training you're ever going to do. Like, you know, the boys this year now, they really, really slogged their guts out.
Already would have been fit.
Yeah, you're fit, and then, you know, then you're trying to get, because everyone else is in the same environment, you know, Scotland, Wales, England, they're all training harder. It's a World Cup year. There's a massive focus. Everyone is looking to be in peak physical condition. So it's really, really tough to lead up. You know, obviously it fills the national media around that time, and everyone seems to have an opinion on it.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, it's like
I've had
the
a few
Waterford.
myself, to be
Yeah,
fair,
the
like.
Waterford Whisperers there. The fat lad who played rugby in school once. Is
the
a fucking expert.
Yeah, well, the owner of that is actually coming on next week. Which
Really?
will be, yeah.
Well, like, it's that kind of thing. Like, everyone has an opinion, and and that's great. Look, it puts rugby front and centre, and look, it is disappointing when you don't quite get to the heights that you're hoping to get to.
But that's the thing. Rugby has come some length, since, even when I started playing, I can remember I started playing with Clan when I was about 13 or 14, and I remember somebody asking the old fella why I was playing that Protestant sport.
Yeah.
In Cashel. What's he doing playing that old Protestant sport for?
Yeah.
And it was Clan. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah, and I would have probably come across that sort of mentality, probably where we're from.
Yeah.
There was certainly a very, very strong GA area. And look, we both would have played Gaelic games and been very much interested in Gaelic games, like everyone is, but there would be probably a certain minority would still see rugby and soccer and cricket as being.
But what's hilarious then,
Protestant games.
3 years later, thanks to Heineken and the back end they did of the promotion, they're experts now in the dark arts of the front row of the scrum.
This is it.
Well,
I think, look, what has really helped in professionalism, and there's probably. For some reason, rugby is associated with the posh parts of Dublin and Cork and Limerick and Belfast. And that's not really the case. Like, you look at Irish teams, over the last 10, 15 years, like you've had lads from really different backgrounds. Like Tommy Bowes from Monaghan, Hayes is from County Limerick, Sean O'Brien is Carlow, Darce is Wexford. You know what I mean?
You and Donncha Ryan.
Yeah, you got Donncha, myself, and Quinny, Tipperary. You've guys. Marcus is from Clare. Woody's from Clare. So Axel was from Clare. So you've got guys coming from, the rural parts of Ireland as well, and that's at times overlooked.
But I think it's easy to make that sweeping statement, isn't it? Like, what I mean?
It is.
Especially here in Dublin, because it is very much seen. The only place people can think of is Blackrock. And it's soccer
and
versus
St. Michael's and our superpowers now in the school game, and the players that they produce are phenomenal. Really.
What are these young fellas? Are they coming out really that? Versus, we'll say, what you saw now when you were in school, like some of the young lads are coming out. Like,
I don't know, even like you, I'd be familiar with the guys in Cork and Limerick as well. Like, and I would have worked with Rockwell College over the last 6 or 7 years as well.
Yeah.
So, look, these guys are on weight programs, they're on diet plans, they've got psychologists,
Stop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, and
imagine a psychologist talking to a 16-year-old.
It's probably not a bad idea.
That's actually a valid point. I would have done far less stupid shit than I did when I was 16.
I know, and the first psychologist came into Munster, like he was nearly laughed out the door. Who's this joker? Like,
stop.
But like it's a massive thing now.
Because the one thing from meeting, I should have said it earlier really, but I remember like the likes of Golov and Claw and these lads, like meeting them as a collective, and even you amongst them, and make like it feels like I'm meeting the mafia or something. Do you know what I mean? There's a gangster vibe, like unless you knew, you wouldn't.
Everything is a laugh. Everything is a laugh and was a laugh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's
there was an angle in every opportunity to take the piss out of someone, and I think even to this day, like when we get together, like it's just the banter is brilliant. You know what I mean? And nothing sacred.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's a great place to go. When you go back, when you meet, like it's just like being a teenager again, or in your early 20s, and there's no fucks given.
Is there that level of banter with the younger folk? We'll say in Leinster now at the minute. Like,
look, I always feel
you're
a little bit more, and I'm a little more detached as a coach, and that's probably the one thing that I maybe don't enjoy about coaching as much is that. You're on the periphery. You're probably the butt of the jokes in behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lads probably, they'd never say it to your face, but there's probably a fair bit of a crack being poked at you. And
well, you're old too.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Like you're a different generation, and you're kind of out of that. And that's coaching can be a little bit lonely from that point of view. While as you're playing, you're in on everything. Everything's hilarious. You know what I mean? And you're that bit more younger and relaxed as well. So yeah, but no, fantastic. Like, yeah, we had brilliant fun in the Munster dressing room. You know, it was a good place to be.
So I'd say before this place gets too fucking noisy and full and all the rest.
We have to go drinking, haven't we?
Yeah, we're on the session now, so the car is probably clamped around the corner anyway. So
I'm just after down a full cup of tea, so some crack.
We're so wild.
Yeah, unreal.
Well, you can't go back to your aunt's house steaming.
No.
But yeah, what are the goals for? Like, are you still setting out? Obviously, your goals now are so much more expensive than when you were singular minded one player. Like, what's your overall? Like, say Ireland were happy to get to a semi-final. I would imagine Leinster are never happy to get to a semi-final of anything. Like, are they? Like, the plan is let's go win everything. Like,
yeah, I'd be very confident in saying that. I suppose my role within Leinster is to develop the next generation of players. So
you're elite development.
Yeah, exactly. So within the guys that I work with right now, they're between the ages of 17 to 21.
So they believe all your lies, like.
Absolutely, yeah. They eat it up. Well, I think they do. But you're just trying to develop those guys to play in the Pro 14 and hopefully the big European Cup games within a year, 2, 3 years, whatever that may be, and just trying to get them to a place where they can win the European Cup and they can go on and play 50, 60, 70, 80 times for Ireland. That's my goal as a coach. That's what I want to achieve. It's a funny role where I am right now in that there's no trophies at the end of it for me.
Your boot camp,
there's no bonus points but you're just developing a type of individual that when he goes into Leo and Stuart Lancaster and Felipe Contepomi, that they like what they see and they say, right, we can work with this guy. This guy has the tools that we need, and he can go and win games for Leinster. And that's really what my job is right now.
That's brilliant, and I didn't slag you once about moving to Leinster. So we said we'd leave that off the table. Denis Leamy, you've been. Do you know what the amount of podcast people who actually have found out that I was going? I don't know how they found out, but you've been the white whale based because you're not on any social media. Normally, this is the point where I go, so where will people follow you? Don't bother following Denis.
No.
Don't.
No, you can't access me.
Physically, do not follow Denis. Like, he's very aware of everybody around him. He's quite quick too.
I'm pretty low profile. Pretty low profile.
It's a safe
and
place
I like
to be.
that.
Like.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's dodgy in this day and age. People, like, if you were a single man right now, any women would have been telling their friends to steer clear of you because
he's no profile.
He's no profile. He's a ghost. Basically, you're a dangerous person right now because they can't find anything out about you. But
Jesus,
yeah. So right now, you're not on anything. Fair play for staying away from everything.
It's really a simple answer. I just can't work a phone. That's it.
Your hands are too big.
My hands are too big. Those touch screens just don't work for me. So I'm on the Nokia little press button ones,
The ones you get for your granny.
Yeah, exactly.
We truly are fucking old, aren't we? Right, let's go have a comp plan or something. Sure, we'll just, sit down and maybe... Actually, it's nearly my bedtime, actually, as we speak.
I'm past my bedtime. Been up since 5:30.
Denis, you're a champ. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks.
Man.
And my thanks again to Denis. Good on you, Den. Like I said, you can normally follow people on social platforms after a podcast, but don't follow Denis on anything because there is nothing to follow him on. You know the man. Something tells me he's destined for greater and bigger things when it comes to the old coaching role. Not that he's in a bad spot at the minute, one of the best sides in Europe. My thanks again to all the patrons, all the people who bought merch. If you do fancy contributing, go ahead. Patreon.com/Buckshot Podcast. It'll be in the show notes below when you tap it. Sling it in what you can stay monthly like a lot of the gang, or just sling it a one-off payment. It all helps. You'll get a shout out on this. I'll definitely be in the chats with you. Follow me on any social platforms. Tom O'Mahony Comedy will find me anywhere. Chatty Snaps is Tom Bear O'Mahony. Bang me over a message, a screenshot. Love that shit. I need to know who's listening. Lads have been doing it all this week. Fucking class. I need to know who's listening. Feel free to bang me an email if you want to buckshotpodcast@gmail.com or Tom O'Mahony comedy@gmail.com. Whichever one takes your fucking fancy. Whichever one. I'm very easy to track down, people. Very easy to track down. For all those gigs, go to tomomahony.com. Now, go on away. Put on your fucking best PJs. Sit down. Couple of cans. And enjoy the rest of the weekend.